I should have never answered that job posting. A lighthouse in Maine, off-season, no staff, no tourists, and one key rule: never go to the top after midnight. I didn't listen. And now, I'm not alone anymore. My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story of how one summer job changed my life, or whatever's left of it. Last June, I took a job that sounded too peaceful to be true: caretaker of an old lighthouse on Larkspur Island, just off the coast of Maine. I was a broke college student with no family obligations, just looking for solitude, some quick money, and maybe a quiet place to write. The ad was simple. Caretaker needed, $1,200 a week, must stay overnight, room provided, 1 month only. No tourists, no maintenance, just presence. Mustn't leave the grounds between sunset and sunrise. It sounded weird, but also kind of perfect. The pay was great, and I love creepy old places. Ghost stories never scared me. Not until I became one. I arrived on June 5th, ferrying out alone, just me and a cranky old man named Tom, the island's only remaining ferry captain. As he docked at the stone pier, he refused to cut the engine and didn't look me in the eye when he handed me the keys. "You sure about this, miss?" he asked. "I signed the contract. I'm sure," I said. "Read the back?" "What?" "The back of the paper. Tiny print. People always miss it." "Yeah, I read it," I lied. He gave me a look like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. Just revved the boat and muttered, "God help you," as he pulled away. That was the last time I saw another living person for 28 days. The lighthouse. The island was beautiful, but unsettling. The lighthouse was tall, whitewashed, and weather-beaten. It looked like it had bones beneath it, like it breathed at night. Inside was a spiral staircase that coiled tightly all the way to the top, where the glass lantern room held the old, still-working Fresnel lens. Below it, 1 bedroom, 1 kitchen, and a single narrow bathroom, all clean but cold. The heater groaned like something alive every time I turned it on. There were rules taped to the fridge. Stay inside after dark. Do not turn off the beacon manually. Do not go to the top after midnight. No visitors. I laughed. No visitors? Who was gonna swim out here? First night. The whisper. That night, I couldn't sleep. Maybe it was the waves, maybe the isolation. I curled up in bed with my laptop and tried to write. At exactly 3:12 a.m., my laptop screen flickered. Then the beacon, just above my ceiling, made a loud mechanical click. Then, I heard it. A whisper, so faint I thought it was wind through a crack. It said, "Emily." I froze. My heart thudded. Then I smiled nervously. Come on, just my imagination. Too many horror movies. I turned off my laptop, but as I lay back in bed, I heard it again, closer this time, as if right outside the bedroom door. Emily? By day 3, I noticed something strange. The spiral stairs changed lengths. I swear, one night it took 78 steps to the top. The next morning, it was 82. And every night at 3:12 a.m., I'd hear the whisper, then tapping, then scratching, like nails against metal. I emailed the agency that hired me. "All fine here," I typed. I didn't want them to think I was crazy, but deep down, I knew something was watching me. On the 7th night, I cracked. I climbed the spiral staircase at 3:15 a.m., flashlight in hand. The old iron groaned with every step. My breath felt loud in the narrow tower. At the top, the glass room was cold, like a freezer. The beacon light spun, but slower. And in the reflection, I saw someone behind me. I whipped around. No one. But on the dusty glass, a single handprint had appeared, pressed from the inside. I ran, nearly fell down the steps, locked my room door, slept with the light on, headphones in, crying like a child. The diary. On day 10, I found a hidden panel beneath the bed. Inside it, a leather-bound journal, brittle with age. It belonged to Sarah Whitmore, dated 1913. The first page read, "I've been hearing the keeper's voice, but he drowned 5 years ago." The entries got darker, more frantic. "I hear him climb the stairs at night. I hear the metal groan, but I never see him. Only the lantern flicker and shadows that don't belong. The sea gave him back, but wrong. He wants me to replace him." Then, the last entry. "If you're reading this, it's already too late." Previously, I found a hidden diary under the bed. The last entry read, "If you're reading this, it's already too late." I didn't sleep the night I found that diary. Instead, I stayed curled up in bed, clutching my flashlight like a weapon. The wind outside had picked up. The old lighthouse moaned and creaked like it was grieving. But what terrified me the most wasn't the noise. It was the silence between it. There was a moment around 3:12 a.m., like always, when everything stopped. No wind, no waves, just breath. Someone breathing just outside my door. I didn't open it. I couldn't. The keeper's log. The next morning, I forced myself to explore more of the lighthouse. Maybe I could find answers, or proof I was just losing my mind. Behind the kitchen cupboard, hidden behind loose paneling, I discovered another book. Thicker, older, burned around the edges. The Keeper's Log. Thomas Grady, 1903 to 1909. Most entries were routine. Fog reports, boat sightings, beacon maintenance. Until 1908. Then, it got strange. The sea gave back what it took. He walks again. I heard him dragging the chain through the lantern room. The lens keeps turning even when I cut the power. The light wants to stay on. On the final page, only one sentence. I locked him in the top room. But chains rust. The scratches. That night, I sealed the lantern room door with furniture. I didn't trust what was up there anymore. The whispering had returned. Emily. M. Illy. But now it sounded distorted, like someone speaking underwater. Then I noticed something horrifying. Scratches on my bedroom wall. Long, deep gouges in the plaster, just above my headboard. I hadn't seen them before. Were they there all along? No. They were fresh, and they were spelling something. L-E-A-V-E. Isolation. On day 14, the radio went silent. I'd been checking in daily using a shortwave to the mainland station. Just a quick, all good, still alive. But now, static. No signal. No reply. I climbed to the roof to try using my cell phone. Still nothing. No bars, no GPS. It was like something was jamming me. Or worse, like I was in a place the world had forgotten. When I climbed back down, I found something that stopped my heart cold. On the table, right next to my coffee mug, was the old diary. The one I'd hidden under my mattress. But the last page had changed. You shouldn't have gone upstairs. The drowned man. That night was the first time I saw him. I've gone to the kitchen for water around 2:30 a.m. The lighthouse was dead quiet. I didn't turn on the lights, just used my phone screen. That's when I saw the shape at the far end of the hall. Tall, soaking wet, head tilted, skin pale and bloated like he'd been underwater too long. He didn't move, just stared. And when I blinked, he was gone. I dropped the glass, ran to my room, locked the door. The whispering started again, but now it was angry. You took my place. Voices in the water. The next morning, I ventured to the shore. I don't know why. Maybe I hoped someone had come, or maybe I just wanted to see something that wasn't rust or blood or rot. But as I stood at the edge of the rocks, staring at the gray sea, I heard them. Voices. Dozens. Calling from below. They weren't speaking English. It was something older. Salt-choked, like gurgling in reverse. And then the waves parted for a moment. Just a second. I saw hands. Pale, reaching hands rising just beneath the surface, clawing at the air before vanishing again. Night of chains. That night, day 15, the lighthouse woke up. I don't know how else to describe it. The walls shook, the beacon flickered violently, the pipes burst, and through it all, the sound of dragging chains from the top room. Then, a scream. Not mine. A man's scream, echoing through the stairwell. I grabbed the old keeper's log and flipped frantically through pages. Near the back, in smaller handwriting, was something I hadn't seen before. If he calls your name, don't answer. If he knocks, don't open. If he screams, run. But it was too late. He was at my door. The lock breaks. The furniture I had shoved under the lantern room door the week before, thrown aside like paper. The door was wide open now. I didn't even hear it happen. I climbed up during the day, hoping maybe, just maybe, I'd imagined it. But inside the top room, scrawled on every glass panel of the lens room in seawater and soot, was the same word repeated. Stay. And in the center of the floor, rusted chains, broken, as if someone had been bound there and got free. Last time, I found the chains broken in the lantern room. Whispers turned to screams, and the name scratched into the walls. Someone had been watching me. And now, it wasn't hiding anymore. I wanted to leave, more than anything. I didn't care about the $1,200 a week, or the contract, or the ferry schedule. I just wanted out. But there was a problem. The ferry never came. Not even once a week like they promised. Not even after I lit the emergency flare I found in the storage cabinet. Just wind, waves, silence. And the keeper was getting bolder. The mirror room. On day 17, I discovered a second trapdoor beneath the old carpets in the living room. I'd walked across it dozens of times without noticing. I pried it open. Beneath it was a crawl space. Dirt. stone, a strange rotting smell, and a mirror. Just one tall, antique mirror leaning against the wall, still intact, covered in dust. I shined my flashlight into it, and my blood ran cold. I didn't see my reflection. I saw a girl, but not me. She was dressed in clothes from another time, early 1900s. Her eyes were hollow. Her lips didn't move, but I heard her voice in my head. "He wears your name now." Then the light flickered, and the mirror cracked, but only in the reflection. The last caretaker. I had to know the truth. I dug through every drawer, every crevice, until I found it. An old contract, nearly identical to mine. Same company, same lighthouse, signed by someone named Clara Bell. Dated June 11th, 1997. So, I checked the logbook. No entries after June 11th, 1997. Just the line written in thick, angry pen. She shouldn't have answered him. That night, I dreamt of Clara. She stood at the top of the stairs, blood dripping down her forehead, whispering into the lens. "Don't let him speak your name 3 times. It gives him permission." Name game. I woke up to find the mirror from the crawl space sitting at the foot of my bed. But I didn't bring it there. And written on it in condensation were the words, "Emily, Emily, I wiped it before it could finish. I didn't care if it shattered. I picked up a hammer and smashed it into pieces. And from the shards, I heard a scream. Not mine. Not even human. A drowned howl rising from the floorboards. Seance gone wrong. Desperate and losing my mind, I did something stupid. I used the items I'd found. Clara's locket, the keeper's diary, the blood-stained rope, and tried to contact the spirit. I lit a candle in the kitchen, closed my eyes, whispered, "If you're here, tell me what you want." The flame instantly blew out, even though the windows were shut. Then the walls began to shake. The clock stopped ticking. A figure passed behind me in the reflection of the stove glass. And then I heard his voice. "It was always you." The lantern flicker. Every night since I arrived, the lighthouse beacon turned like clockwork. But that night, it stopped. Exactly at 3:12 a.m., the rotation froze. The light burned out. The sea turned black. I rushed to the lantern room, panting, barefoot on cold iron steps. When I arrived, the entire glass room was covered in salt from the inside, like sea mist had erupted within. And hanging from the center, where the chains had been, was a figure. Not a body, not quite. It was a shape of soaked clothes and shadow, twisting in place, without a face. I backed away, and it whispered, "Stay." The disappearance. By day 20, I stopped eating. Food tasted like sand. Water turned red when I poured it. My skin began to bruise in places I hadn't touched. And then, I lost time. I woke up on the roof. One night, standing knee-deep in the freezing ocean, barefoot, shivering. Another time, I woke in the lantern room, lying inside the circle of chains, with no memory of walking there. Something was taking pieces of me, replacing them with him. The letter in the wall. I peeled back the wallpaper in the stairwell, searching for anything at all. Behind it, Taped to the wooden plank was a letter in faded ink. To the next girl who reads this, run. He chooses those who come alone. The sea is his cradle. The lens is his eye. When you sleep, he remembers his name through your dreams. If you hear bells that aren't there, it means he's inside you. Please don't let him finish the ritual. That night, I heard them for the first time. Bells. Faint. From inside the walls. And then, the mirror shards on my floor began to hum. Previously, I found a letter warning me about the ritual. I began hearing bells that didn't exist. I blacked out and woke up in places I didn't walk to. The lighthouse is no longer just haunted. It's becoming alive, and I think I'm losing who I am. Day 21. The ritual begins. I thought maybe if I never said my name again, he couldn't finish, so I stopped speaking. I covered the mirrors. I wrote sticky notes all over the room. Don't speak, don't dream, don't say your name. But the lighthouse had other plans. At night, the wind carried whispers, not just one voice, many, echoing like a choir of the drowned. And at 3:12 a.m., I dreamt of the ocean swallowing me. I wasn't drowning. I was being taught to breathe underwater. A stranger comes. On day 23, I saw a boat, far in the distance, not the ferry, smaller, personal. I ran to the rocks and waved my arms, screamed until my throat went raw. To my shock, the boat turned. 20 minutes later, a man stepped onto the dock, maybe in his 30s, tall, soft-spoken, claimed his name was Daniel. He said, "The company sent me. They haven't heard from you." I should have felt relief, but something was wrong. He didn't bring food, no supplies. His clothes were bone dry, though it was raining when he arrived. And when I asked him what the name of the agency was, he smiled but didn't answer. The man without a shadow. That night, Daniel stayed in the guest quarters on the first floor. I couldn't sleep. My instincts screamed. So I crept to the hallway and watched. He walked into the kitchen, turned toward the mirror above the sink, and didn't reflect. I covered my mouth, holding back a scream. When he turned suddenly and looked straight at me, I ducked, but it was too late. He saw me. He whispered, low and gurgling, "Almost ready, Emily." How did he know my name? Reality cracks. The next day, I found blood in the sink, then on the doorknob, then the stairs. My fingertips were stained, but I had no cuts. I started seeing versions of myself in windows, standing still while I moved, watching while I cried, smiling when I screamed. And Daniel? He didn't sleep, didn't eat. He just sat at the top of the stairs, humming. The true legend. I returned to the keeper's diary, reread every page. Hidden in a fold of the back cover was a yellowed newspaper clipping. Lighthouse keeper drowned, body never found. June 12th, 1904. Thomas Grady, age 44, presumed drowned after a storm pulled his boat from the rocks. Witnesses say he was seen walking the shore that night, despite reports he was lost at sea. The lighthouse was sealed for 9 years. Locals speak of a curse. Anyone who stays too long begins hearing their own name whispered at night. Grady. That was the name in the logbook. the same one chained in the lantern room. He never drowned. Or worse, he came back. Daniel's secret. On day 25, I snuck into Daniel's room while he stood unmoving in the tower above. Inside his bag, I found the same contract I signed, but dated 1974. A photo of a girl, Clara, and a bundle of teeth wrapped in netting. When I turned to leave, he was there, blocking the doorway. His face began to warp, sag, stretch, water dripping from his ears. He needs a name, Emily. That's the price of keeping the light on. It remembers the last one who speaks it, and you've said it plenty. He lunged. Escape attempt. I ran down the spiral stairs, my legs slick with blood from a fall. I reached the dock, praying the small boat he arrived in still floated. It was gone. Only footprints remained, mine, leading back to the tower. I was never meant to leave. Not until he had his wants. The bell tower. On day 26, I stopped resisting. I let the name echo in my head. Emily, Emily, Emily. The bells rang again, louder now, constant, inside my skull. I walked to the lantern room and found the lens still turning, but now it reflected a face that wasn't mine. A drowned, bloated woman with my eyes. The chains wrapped around my ankles like they were alive, pulling me to the floor. Daniel, or whatever wore his face, stood at the edge of the room and whispered, "One more night, then you'll belong to the sea." Previously, I tried to escape, but the boat was gone. Daniel wasn't real. My reflection had changed. The bells inside the walls wouldn't stop. And now the lighthouse was pulling me towards something I didn't understand, but I could feel it inside me. I wasn't alone anymore. I wasn't me anymore. Day 27, becoming her. I stopped sleeping, not out of fear anymore, but because something was whispering inside me, not to stay awake, but to listen. I saw her in the mirror again, the girl from 1913, Sarah Whitmore. Her hollow eyes blinked, and this time she spoke aloud. "You're the fifth. The fifth girl. The light always wants a girl." "Why?" I asked. "Because we remember." Then she showed me the memory of the lighthouse. The walls turned liquid, the floor beneath me vanished, and I was falling deep, deep into the tower's memory. I saw all of them. Clara, slitting her wrists on the lantern floor, smiling as she fell. Lily, swallowed by the ocean after she walked into the waves with rocks in her coat. Sarah, choking on salt water in her bed, though the room was dry. And Avery, the last girl, tearing her own face off in the mirror. Each had spoken their name 3 times. Each had become part of the light. Day 28, the final ritual. I tried to resist. I tried not to say it again, but every object in the house screamed it at me. The mirror, the pipes, the sea, the clock, the books. Even my breath sounded like my name. Emily, Emily, Emily. And at 3:12 a.m., the ritual began. The beacon stopped. The lantern room door swung open. The chains dragged themselves across the floor, alive, slithering like veins. They wrapped around my wrist, pulling me into the center of the circle.
Daniel appeared again, but now I saw him clearly. No skin, just bloated, blackened muscle, stitched together with rope. His eyes were fish eyes, dead, rotting. And he whispered, "The light is hungry. You are the oil. Burn." The twist. I wasn't the only one. But then, a scream. Not mine. Another girl, wet, barefoot, bloodied, burst into the lantern room. She looked just like me. No, not like. She was me. A past version? A future? She screamed, "Don't trust it. Don't let it in. That's not your name anymore." I cried out, "Who are you?" "The version of you that never got on the ferry." And then the beacon lit up on its own. White, searing, blinding. Both of us screamed, and in that moment, I saw what the lighthouse really was. The truth, the light is a tomb. The lens was never built to guide ships. It was built to trap souls. Each girl who came here, each girl who said her name, the lighthouse absorbed them, burned them into the beacon. That's why it still works. That's why it never breaks. Each rotation is a scream. Each flash, a memory. And now it wanted mine. The ending. A new keeper. The next morning, the sun rose, and I was standing outside, on the rocks, dry, calm, alone. The ferry waited at the dock. Captain Tom, older than I remembered, waved me aboard. "You okay, miss?" he asked. "Yes," I said. My voice wasn't mine. "What's your name again?" I paused. "Sarah. Sarah Whitmore." He nodded. Strange, that was the last name in the ledger, nearly a century ago. I smiled and never looked back. Final scene. A new caretaker comes. Fade to black. Then, a new voice. Cheerful, nervous. A young woman speaking into her phone. "Hey, I just got to Larkspur Island. It's so creepy and cute. I'm going to be the lighthouse caretaker for a month. They left me a key, a map, and this weird old mirror. I think her name was Emily? Anyway, I'll update you guys later. Love you, Mom." Click. The door shuts. The beacon starts to turn again. And from the walls, a whisper. "Welcome home."